Okay, I'm
All
back.
right, and we're back. So continuing to talk about variants, um, there are variants I really didn't care for. Like when Civil War II came out, I remember we lost so many customers because they wanted to do every single variant. And when I saw they had a variant for Hot Wheels, I was like, all right, now you're starting to cross the line. You know, like Lego covers, that was cool. When I saw the Hot Wheel ones, I was like, eh. Like there are variants where I'm just, why am I paying this price for it when I can just buy this better cover for cover price?
Man, I kind of like that, during that New 52 period, DC had, their alternate covers had a theme to them.
Yeah.
They were all like the Batman month or the Lego month.
Yeah, no.
They had a couple
And
artists did all.
Yeah, they tried to keep that theme going every now and then in any way they could, really.
But again, then you're like buying multiple copies of
the same book. Like the biggest thing with
this is a big waste of money. This splash cover, $7.99 for what? Red, not even art. No artist on it.
Well,
draw on it, treat it like a blank.
What was it? I think I got trolled one time by Alico when he first opened, because when the store first opened, he couldn't sell the blanks for anything. He's like, here, just take them. Nobody wants them. Just take all of them. Up to the point where he's like, all right, I kind of might want some of those blanks back. Can you please bring them back in? I like them. And I was, and this is way before it happened. He's like, what if they came out with the blank comic book, Swan? Would you buy that? I was like, what do you mean? Like the whole comic itself is just one big blank. Would you be into it? And I was like, I doubt they would ever do it. And then they did it that one day for, what was it, 24-hour comic day, where you have to draw the whole comic and submit it. They got my money on that. That's for darn sure.
They did that Batman blank.
They did a Batman, a Superman, a Wonder Woman blank that then spawned to like a Vampirella blank comic book and a bunch of others.
Wow. A bunch of here in Oahu decided to take one of the Batman blanks, and it was right around the time that graphic novel came out where you see Batman's wang.
Oh God!
Damned.
Batman Damned.
Batman Damned.
So we decided to sort of do like a adult take on Batman. Not very adult. It was more like 12-year-olds version of an adult. It was pretty immature, but yeah, I did one page, and John Murakami did a couple pages, and Reed Kishimoto did a page, and it was pretty funny. It's pretty funny. I think it ended up Dragon's Lair Comics has it, but I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day.
Knowing Lucas, it probably will.
That's like a story in myths, you got to go in like, hi, I heard you have a comic book that's blank but full of Batman's wangs in different varieties. Can I please see it? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm trying to find the page that I did. It was I did it like a throwback tribute to like 1950s Batman, but I changed him from Batman to just Batwang. Gotta find it, this mess of stuff. But it was fun. It was a good time. We all had a lot of laughs.
Oh my God!
Some people did some pretty crazy stuff.
I remember what happened when that book came out. A lot of customers came in. They just started like coming in. They're like, "What do you think Superman's one looks like?" I'm like, "What?" And all of a sudden, like that's where the conversation started. And they're like, "Yeah, what do you think like the other characters in the DC universe look like?" I'm like, "I don't even think I want to know."
I wouldn't want to know either.
Oh, that's funny.
Nice.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
That's funny. With Throblin, I like that.
Yeah, Throbbing, the Boy Wonder. And it's like I did a parody of the whole, like, how Bruce Wayne's sitting in his study and the bat comes through the window. Well, in this one, somebody throws a dildo through the window. And he's like, that's it. I'll become a wang, a bat wang. So.
Oh, that's so funny. That's even funnier than Zoo Batman. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Somebody takes Pokemon and Batman and they fuse it together and call it Zoo Batman.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And they did like this little animated clip that was on YouTube. It was really funny. If you haven't seen it, I would say after this, go look it up. It's really fun to watch.
I'm going to have to.
Definitely take a look at it now.
other than just blanks being one of those fun things, variants in general are a good way of trying to get other artists to get out there, even if they're just doing the cover and they're not the interior artists. It's cool because then, it's like, oh, I never heard of this artist. Thanks to this variant, I get to see what they are capable of doing pretty much artistically. But that's as far as I stand. And, there's a point where it's like, okay, the Jim Lee variants, like when they did, okay, 400 copies equals this one variant you get. It kind of puts a stress on the retailers if that one customer wants it. At the same time, they got to guarantee those 400 comics are for like guaranteed sales, not speculation, really. So being that guy who was on the retailer side of the counter, I can see where the struggle on variants comes in really big. But for the most part, I would think that as a good way of promoting a new artist, even an artist that doesn't really do art that much anymore, it gives them a chance to be still visible.
That is true.
I mean, the sad thing is that, like, there's ones you got to have like 500 copies to sell.
Oh yeah,
and
no,
there was
retailer incentives, they kill a retailer. Like if I order that Jim Lee cover, I'm having to think, oh God, I just ordered 500 of these. If I have, say, like 50 customers sub to it, like, where are the rest of the 450 gonna go?
I mean, I worked at Jellies in the early 2000s.
Ooh,
and there was a time when, like, they could move 500 copies of like X-Men easy. Like,
I
like,
believe it.
I mean, I remember like comics was the department that made the most money when I first started working at Jellies. Because there was like the music department, the book department, comics, and the games.
Yep.
And it's like comics was making money more than all the other departments combined. And, I mean, every Wednesday we used to have to put up the police lines, to allow the guys working at the shop to put all the new comics on the shelves, because people wanted to just, bum rush the shelf and try to grab everything.
But that's when business was good that day, Like, God, I would love to have one of those days happen. But
literally, like a year later, it was like nothing, like it really drastically changed, and it's strange how that happened. But yeah, I mean, now it's like, it just makes me, it's crazy, because I remember a time when selling 500 copies of a comic was not hard to do.
Right now it's like pulling teeth.
Now you're lucky if you sell 50, Like,
true. Well, it's not only that, it's like, the thing I hated about variants is when they decided to put the price range on them, It's like, yeah, I got the Jim Lee variant. That's $500 right now, sir, please. And the guy goes, okay, never mind. I don't want it. I'll get the regular cover for cover price. You're then stuck with it. Yep. And even if you don't sell it, over time, that variant's pricing goes down more and more. And it becomes even harder to move. Like, I feel bad for people that jump on the variant when it first comes out and they're like paying $120 for it. And later on, like, say 4 months later, it's $10 on eBay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this is where I go and I get the variant. But it's a really predatory thing, I feel.
Oh, yeah. It's like Other Realms when, McFarlane came back to do that variant cover for that Venom 1, that black and white cover. And I saw...
Stupid. We didn't even get ours.
I think Charlie and Loretta only got one, and they were like, it was like $200 they wanted for it. And I was like, wow, okay, sorry, gonna have to pass.
What was it? I think Midway, they had it on their site when it first came out for $1,300.
Jeez.
And somebody bought it. Somebody bought the thing. I know another store, Texas Toys, they got theirs, but it was folded right down the middle. And, and they were unable to get a replacement. Us, we just didn't get it. And Diamond still didn't send it. We waited, and they said 6 months. 6 months later, still didn't get it. And by the time, even if we were to get it, the hype on it died out, Like, it's a dangerous game with variants, especially if you're a new collector, I feel. Because when you're brand new to it, you're like, ooh, yeah, look. It's like that James Wood scene from Family Guy. Ooh, here's the candy.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
Pretty much it's like, all right, how did I get to $700 this week? Or $500? Like you said, it attacks the wallet, it attacks everyone, especially if you don't have much knowledge on it as a new collector.
Oh yeah, you can get robbed easily sometimes, unfortunately. As bad as that to say about certain sellers, if you're new and you're just trying to ride the hype train,
Right.
And they
If you're
say, oh,
speculating-
you know, yeah, respectfully, you know, it's like I understand they're trying to make a sale, they're trying to, you know, feed their kids and all that, but man, sometimes I see newcomers a mile away at Amazing Con where they're just
they
like,
fall for
oh, you
everything
have,
they see.
yeah,
Starstruck moments, I call it. No, that's why when I used to work at Maui Comics and stuff, the first thing I did was whenever there's a new collector, because I think there was a year we got 5 collectors to lose 10 of them within 2 months, just because they spent so much on the variants, they forgot about the main subline, and then they just couldn't afford their pulls. So at some point, we were just like educating them to just, unless you're sure about it, then go for the variant. If it's something you really want, if you're just speccing to make money on it, you're going to be sad at the end of the day.
yeah, because was it like maybe 3-4 years ago, we went through a storage unit that we had, and I guess my auntie's brother who passed away, he had like all those 90 comics, like I guess the 90s bubble, thinking the same thing, like, oh, I'm going to buy 5 copies of Superman 75 and I'm going to retire on selling 3 of them, you know, in about 5-6 years. But, you know, as we all know, sit here now, DC made like what, 200 million or something like that, copies of that.
Yeah.
So now you can buy them like at Jellies, you know. Percy actually gave me one for free like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
What was it? For me, like I had an uncle. He was big speculator on Spawn #1.
Oh.
Like, no kidding. I'm so surprised I was even to sell it at the time for like $1 each. I had a whole long box full of Spawn #1s.
Wow.
He's telling me I think they're $1,000 a piece. I was just, no, they're not.
No.
They're
Well,
totally like 50 cents at max.
I
Yeah.
remember Spawn 1 came out and people were going ape over it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
then,
yeah.
like, a couple weeks later, you could walk into like Walmart and they had it in like a pack. Well, like more than a couple weeks. It's probably like maybe 3 months later. Because I think it was like Spawn 1 through 3 were in a pack together at like Walmart for like $10 or something, you know? And it was like, and it was the same, you know, it was the first print Spawn #1. And yeah. I don't know. I used to laugh. I would go into a store and somebody would be like, they would have it up for like $60, and I'm like, that's funny. I bought 3 of those for like $30. You know.
Right. Did you watch? Either one of you happen to watch him doing his autograph session for CGC? He was saying for the ones who haven't had Spawn #1 signed, don't get it signed because it's probably going to be more valuable than a signed one, because he signed so many that whole weekend for CGC.
Jesus.
So I was like, for the creator to actually say something like that, I was like, wow, I guess I'm glad I didn't get mine signed.
I think at some point I just got on the bandwagon for getting my book signed. I remember I used to be against them. I'm like, no, that's going to drive my value of the book down. I'm like, or maybe just have a little bit more fun with it.
Yeah. Well, even that Key Collector app, the guys, they have their own YouTube. They're saying probably if you do get it signed, don't get it CGC'd if you didn't get it witnessed by them, because the value of it's going to be better than if you get the green label.
Yeah. Well, you can
Because they're
actually,
saying a lot of them.
you don't need to do the green label, actually. You can do a blue label.
Oh,
There's
really?
a way to do it. A friend of mine taught me, if you want to do the blue label, they'll take 3 points off the grade, he told me. I don't know how true that is, but he did bring a book that was signed by Stan Lee, blue labeled, and it was like a 6 for, I think, what was it, an Avengers #4 or something like that. You know,
Wow.
but thinking it was a 6, imagine without the signature, you know.
Right. I should talk to Daniel about that.
Yeah, I wanted to message him about it so much. I actually wanted to get him on the show, but I don't know what his schedule is like right now. But
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, getting back to that variant thing with all those comics that I found with the X-Men, the 4-issue #1s with Jim Lee, where, you know, you had Cyclops trying to attack, what was it, Magneto. You know, my uncle had like 8 copies of each one.
Wow.
holy crap.
Yeah, exactly. Holy crap is right. And, you know, there was a few gems in there, like Amazing Spider-Man 300, 361, but nothing that's going to knock your socks off.
Right.
But again, the variants, I was just looking at through all of it. I'm like, Jesus, he really got suckered by the variant, bug.
Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah. And my grandmother was just screaming at me, get rid of him, get rid of him. So I just took him down to other realms and I said, what's the best you can give me?
Jesus. Drew, you look like you're ready to say something, but I'm not too sure.
Oh no, I just, when I was, this is all like old stories, but it's just, I remember working at Jellies and we had heard that Other Realms was jacking up the cost of the variants. Like they would they put them on the shelf for like $6. I think comics were like $2.99 at the time. And so they were putting the variants out at $6. But Percy had to follow suit because he knew, and people were coming in and buying variants and then turning around and flipping them on, eBay. So, he had no choice. He had to follow suit and increase the prices too. But one thing Percy did that I always liked was like, if somebody had a pulls list at Jellies and they put on their pulls that they wanted the variants, he gave it to them for cover.
Wow.
Well, that's how you take
Percy's an awesome guy.
No, he was good. You had to prove it. You had to show it. They had to pull your list and be like, okay, this guy says he wants the variants, so you give it to him. Otherwise, if it wasn't on your list, you were paying $6. But
I bet you there was a couple guys who are like, I just want the variant for cover, so I just sub to one thing, Like they try to pull the fast one. Because I know that happened with us a couple of times. Like what was it?
Yeah, Other Realms, they still do that. I think a couple of my Volume 3 Dark Knight Returns, they were selling for like 15.
Yeah, it's not $6 anymore. It's like, it's like caught up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, variant game, especially nowadays.
Talking about how horrible it is for the retailers.
Well, sometimes, with the retailers, it really does hurt us, especially if we can't sell it within that X amount of time. I mean, you've been to the store many times. You know what we went.
The amount of books you're ordering just to get a single copy of something else.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is, though.
I think if they'd save it for like an event book, I could see it, But when they're doing it just for like any old issue of whatever, it does kind of wear it out a bit.
The thing I hate is when they try to sell the variant that's a first appearance. Like that Batman and Flash thing still irritates me till this day because it's the cover of Teen Titans 12, and it was such a dumb thing because we had so many pissed off customers about that. They're like, I thought it was the Batman who last #1. I was like, no, it's actually this variant that's his first appearance. And they just get so confused, and it's never fun to explain it.
Doing like 1 in 500 or 1 in 200 or whatever it is, to me, they should just make it a numbered.
Right.
Like sign a number on them all, and there's a reason for people to want it.
Yeah. Like, what was it? I know Alika, he went really crazy on the Batman TMNT series, the first series, for the Eastman variant.
Oh, yeah.
Those are really nice variants. I didn't realize how much he had to order just to get the one. And he did that for all safe.
I liked that series a lot. That was
I enjoyed it. Do you guys feel it went on a little too long with the third volume?
I think so. I mean, like I agree with you guys. It was a great run, but I just it kind of lost me after issue 5 or 6.
They're like, here's series 2, here's series 3. I like how they kind of tried to change it up a bit. I'm just glad they did just 3 series of that and didn't do like, okay, now we're going to go back to TMNT Ghostbusters. Okay, we're going to go, back to Batman. Then we're going to go cross over to Superman. Like, I'm surprised they just didn't try to over push the gimmick when it was hot. There's another thing with variants. A lot of them, they try to push it so hard. Like, what was it, Scott, for DC? 1 month of foil variants. And then the other month was like monster variants or whatever. Just same with Marvel's Venomize, and then
Oh yeah.
the infected variants or whatever they called them. Like people went crazy for that over here.
You know, you guys all know my opinion already about Chinese, right? Shiny variant. There's no other reason to buy it.
True. But, you know, other than variants, you know, we're going to just like trying to switch gears on because I know you guys know characters. And one of the things that I always kind of hate is how they over push certain characters. Example, you know, like you have, 15 Spider-Man runs instead of one, and like 10 Batman titles, 5 Superman titles. You know, do you guys feel like there's characters that are on the roster for anywhere, even independent comics, that should be getting a little bit more runtime, at least their own series or something?
Well, you know, I thought about this one a lot, and you know, I mean, I guess before I get into it, there's a reason why there's like so many Spider-Man books or so
True,
many
he
Batman,
sells. Yeah,
you know,
it's really
sell.
easy.
I mean, they're only going to keep making them as long as people buy them. So,
Yep.
but I would say like characters that are kind of underused or underappreciated. I guess I'll start with Marvel, because Marvel kind of surprised me in recent years. Like they would do a comic of a character that I considered kind of like a C-list or D-list character that actually
They had like a prominent run pretty much. Yeah.
You know, like you look at like Moon Knight. Moon Knight is not an A-list Marvel character, but he's gotten to be very popular, and that's largely because of how well the book is written. And you know, and Hawkeye has been a like perpetual C-list character. But when Mac Fraction was drawn, you know, was writing that book, and I think they had like Chris Samney was doing art and some other people too, and you know, it did really well. It got a lot of critical acclaim, you know. So it's interesting to see how Marvel can take like a kind of maybe not necessarily obscure, but a character that's always sort of been a side character for a while. So I kind of hold out hope that Marvel will find some way to do the Black Knight. I'd like to see them do something with Black Knight, utilize him well. And I don't, he's not a guy who works for Marvel ever, but if they were to get Dave Gibbons to come over to Marvel and do a Black Knight series, I think it would be really good.
I can see
Okay.
that.
God, that reminds me of the Black Knight series they had in 2015. Such a good
Yeah, it
run.
was terrible.
Issue 5, it got good, and then that's when they're like, "Or can we cancel you?" And it leaves you on that nice cliffhanger, you know.
I gave up at 4. I was like, oh, I should have held out.
It was that last issue really messes with you, you know. But who do you got to say for like DC and independent, if anything?
For DC, a character that I feel like has never been used right is the Creeper.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see somebody get a hold of the Creeper. And, you know, there's a guy who really likes Ditko, and that's Brendan McCarthy.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, he would have been perfect.
He could do something cool with the Creeper. I think he could do something really cool. So I hold out hope that DC might get McCarthy to do something with the Creeper.
Really nice choices, Drew. See, this is why I like you so much. You know the characters. You know, like I bet Alika, if he watches this, because he gave me so much guff when I said I liked Black Knight. He's like, that guy? Does he have anything good? I'm like,
Well,
yeah.
Okay, so for Black Knight, have you ever read any of the old 1950s Marvel Black Knight?
The only Black Knights I like to read, yeah.
Because I mean, it's like before they were Marvel, I think when they were still Atlas,
Yeah, something like that.
and they were all set. It was all set in like medieval times, you know, like it was like a you know, Knights of Camelot kind of story. But the art in it was fantastic, and they had these beautiful covers, you know. And I don't know, I thought it was an interesting idea. So maybe if they could find a way to tie the Black Knight back to
His original
roots.
stories, yeah.
I don't know, but I kept imagining like what artist could do Black Knight that would be an interesting take on it. And I thought, what about Dave Gibbons? Like it's a character that he might, you know, to sort of do something with.
No, very nice choices. Scott, who do you got?
What have I got? I want to see more Madman. Not that I wouldn't consider him necessarily underutilized or doesn't get enough attention, but it's just so irregular.
Allard's doing he's doing that something robot now, right? The see-through robot or something.
And I haven't gotten any of that yet. I gotta.
I hear it's really good, and I think Madman actually pops up in the story. But
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure he does that all the time. After he started to get bigger money, like from Marvel, I'm sure he felt like he could take a break on Madman for a while. I can come back to it anytime, But I wish there was more focus on that from him. I couldn't think of anybody in particular from Marvel or DC, except that I want another Swamp Thing book. But again, not underutilized. I just want a book, something to follow. Zatanna, any of the DC Magic Universe guys.
Okay.
Detective Chimp. I could go with a Detective Chimp comic book.
He works great in teams. I would love to see how he does solo. Justin, who you got?
Well, I thought too a little bit about this from the DC world. I'd kind of like to actually see Big Barda get her own, little series, maybe, because I know Tom King just got done with his run of Mr. Miracle, which, I'm a fan too of Mr. Miracle long before Tom King came, but I don't think Big Barda gets as much love or as attention as really she deserves. She can hold her own against Wonder Woman or, even Superman. And I think maybe with the right writer, who that could be, no idea. Just maybe Amanda Connor or something could make her, really blow up. Or maybe close to Wonder Woman's popularity if someone could just show us what she's really capable of. Then from Marvel, I think I'd go with the villain, Mr. Sinister. Seen as, Fox has been teasing him for so long that we never got him. But, Mr. Sinister, I think he's really underrated as a villain. I know a lot of fans will just go to Dr. Doom or Galactus, but, if Marvel could pay Chris Claremont the right amount and let him do what he wants with his original character, I think he could do better or do a lot more with him than what we've gotten so far.
Okay, no, that's really good choices. Yeah, if I had to go with anyone from DC, I'm going to start with my DC one, Metamorpho. Scott knows I love Metamorpho more than anything. He shows up here and there. The guy can turn into kryptonite for crying out loud. And like you said, like how Big Barda can hold her own against Wonder Woman, he can hold his own with Superman. They introduced him in the Justice League cartoon.
Right.
I liked when they did that, especially since I knew him before that, and my family members were like, "Wow, this guy is like kind of weird looking." I was like, "That's cool. He's the Element Man, He has a lot of fun and potential, and I feel like he was just a waste. He's on that roster. He shows up here, he shows up there, a part of a team or two, and that's it. You don't get to see him on his own. You don't get to hear about things that'll be interesting about him. If anything, I would have to pick Metamorpho for DC. Marvel actually kind of beat me to the punch on it. I was gonna say I feel like they don't use Carnage that much. Now I feel like they use Carnage a little too much. If I had to pick, there are many people from the Magic world on their side too. Specifically, I would like to have more Man-Thing. Haha, pun not intended on that one. Like I feel any of like the creatures on their side, supernatural based, because we push the cosmic side so much, they get lost in the shuffle more than anything. So really, I like these
Man-Thing versus Swamp Thing.
Right? We used to have crossover stuff from DC. I think we gotta go back there. I think that's where we're heading to. As long as we get something other than that Man-Thing movie we had early 2000s. Yikes.
Oh, sad.
Man-Thing's those comics are great. I love the Steve Gerber ones, and I think that's some of the best stuff that Marvel put out in the 70s. But he's such a hard character to do because he doesn't talk.
Right.
So
this is where I think Tarkovsky would be the best. Like Tarkovsky is the king of a show without dialogue, really. If you look at Samurai Jack, he's excellent.
Primal,
incredible. And Tarkovsky would kill it if I had to pick someone other than the magical creatures or swamp creatures, whatever you guys want to call it, I would pick Fool Killer. I think Fool Killer needs a little bit more action too. A Fool Killer Punisher series at least, and then they go off into his own series. Like, I think we could, at this point in time, have a good Netflix series based on Fool Killer alone. That's just me, though. You know, you don't got to agree with it.
One Dazzler back.
Could you imagine if he just shows up in the movies with the roller skates?
Wanted to make a Dazzler movie set in the current world or current time period, but she's still stuck in the disco era.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading a interview with Jim Shooter, and they were talking about how Dazzler was pretty much created because there was the hope that they were going to make a movie with Casablanca Records.
Right.
And it was supposed to be a musical, like, superhero movie. And I think Kiss was supposed to be in it because they were technically on Casablanca Records, and like Donna Summers was going to be in it, and like all these like all Casablanca acts were going to be in this movie, with Dazzler. And I just had this like picture in my head of like Jim Shooter and all the Marvel guys over at Casablanca just doing mountains of cocaine, talking about this crazy thing. I just think it's like these guys must have been out of gourd,
No, I think they were a little late with the Dazzler character because wasn't she around when disco was finally starting to phase out?
Yeah, it was too late. Like by the time
Yeah.
they were doing it, it was like in its death throes already. So.
Yeah, and like if they did it when disco was popular, she should have been so much bigger than how she is now. That's me though.
If they did a twist on Dazzler, instead of making her, I mean, I don't know if it would work or not, but like a character that they could have gone the other way. Like had her Dazzler was like playing at CBGB's, doing like punk shows or something,
Oh God, that would be
They could try to make it that character, like a different version of Dazzler. So now she's like this underground punk artist,
I could
That'd be
get
kind of.
that'd be pretty cool.
She could be from the future, like a Bill and Ted universe in the future, and come back.
That's who Ted or Bill's daughter is. Oh God.
I'm excited for this new Bill and Ted movie. I think it's gonna be pretty good.
I think it's gonna be great. Yeah, no, I'm gonna agree with you on that.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it too.
The fact that they're even a part of it, the original two, not some, oh yeah, here's these wannabe guys. That's the part where I think just them alone sell the movie so well. Only if Carlin was still around.
Keanu Reeves seems to have like no ego. He's totally willing to go back and do these kind of movies.
Oh, I guess he's been friends with Alex Winter like for a long time.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I think like he probably would just do it just because he likes hanging out with his friends.
Yeah, that alone though makes me want to go watch the movie. It's not about money. It's not about nostalgia. It's they just want to do like a thing about two friends just hanging out, making a movie pretty much. That to me already sells it a lot better.
Other than the next Bill and Ted, the other movie I'd like to see is another Elvira movie.
Can you imagine if she shows up like on What We Do in the Shadows or something?
Oh,
Just shows up as a sorceress and then sees what happens.
Who is this?
Elvira.
Oh wow.
Jesus.
I think the last thing I saw her.
She looks great.
Yeah, but I think the last thing I saw her on was that show Comic Book Men, where she made an appearance at the.
Oh yeah, for the blood drive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the last time I think I seen her on TV.
God. No, she's doing her thing.
Celebrity.
Oh yeah.
In your life.
Yeah, Elvira, man. She still looks the same, well preserved. Oh.
It's all that white makeup.
True, very true. All right, guys, we're at the last 5 minutes of the show. We're going to close it out with the random question of the evening. So we talked about underrated characters, talked about variants. If you guys could do a variant for any character, Marvel, DC, or whatever, who would you guys pick?
Oh.
What artist doing what character?
Oh no, if you were the artist,
Oh, if I'm the artist,
yeah.
Well, I was
Would you collaborate with somebody?
Judge Dredd for me.
Nice choice.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite independent comic book character.
No, that's a really excellent choice. What about you, Scott? Still thinking?
probably somebody like Nexus.
Nice.
Dude. I'm surprised you didn't go with Elvira, but that's a really good choice too.
Well, I couldn't draw Elvira. A waste of paper and ink.
What about you, Drew?
Gosh. You know what? It's an obscure character, but I like drawing him as Killraven. I just enjoy drawing Killraven. So
Killraven is another one. I think he's on his way back. I think they found a way to bring him back.
maybe.
I don't know. For me, if I had to pick one, I would let it be like a collaboration thing, but it would have to be something to do with Eric Powell because I'm a big Eric Powell kind of guy. So I would say I would choose the Demon. If they just gave the Demon his own run, have me and Eric Powell, like obviously I would just be the guy who's like, all right, just here's the doodle, Eric. You do the real star work there.
He would do a great Demon. I don't think I've ever seen him do Demon, but he would do a great job on Demon.
He did one for a Justice League cover.
Oh, wow.
What was it, Scott? I think it was Arkham Escape or something. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
I remember you posted it once. No, yeah.
It was the Arkham Asylum ones. The miniseries.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that series.
Yeah, such a good series.
I don't have it near me to pull, but yeah.
Well, all right, guys. It was fun talking to you guys. Thanks for showing up. Justin, Drew, thank you guys. Hope you guys had a good time. It was fun talking
Yeah,
to you
great.
guys.
For the invite.
Yeah, if you guys want to do this again, we do it every Tuesday. If anything, thanks for joining us here on Value Add Collector Chat. I'm Swan. This is Scott, Justin, and Drew, and we are done for the night. Have a nice night.